so if you have something that you'd like to share, we're going to just stick with the words, because remember, we're moving now into our connections. And so those words can be meaningful to all of us and compelling. So leave the story for the table and just share the words that you chose about where you have come from, your history, or your legacy. Judy?
My word that jumped out to me was dignity, and I came. Hello? No?
Yeah, it's on.
All right. Hi. I'm sorry. I'm Robin. The word that jumped off the block to me was the word of dignity. My mother and my mother's mother, and now me, all felt very strongly that they wanted to die with dignity, and it was something that colored what happened in our lives.
Thank you. Can someone else share?
I'm Michelle, and the word that struck out or stood out for me was secret, because I come from a Midwest family. My parents with Southern roots, a very strong mother who shows absolutely no emotion. And so anytime anything in our family would happen, especially if it had to do with death, I was sort of shielded from it, because that would mean if it was shared with me, then I would have emotion about it. And that just wasn't what we do. So now I torture her with all kinds of emotion all the time.
My word was community, and sort of what it brought up for me is that we have a lot of communal grief. You know, the one that was mentioned about deaths in the community of the church, our founders, but then Columbine, 9/11, Matthew Shepard, we are all still grieving them.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura. I kind of want to take this block home, because every one of the pairs is exactly answers. So for the first one, where do we come from? Sitting here at the military table, duty and choice as the opposite. So one I grew up with, and one I'm making now.
Thank you so much. I want to encourage us to recognize the power of distilling our stories down to these words that can be shared much more easily than sometimes our stories can. And this is a tool that we can take back to our communities, especially our congregations, to help people see how they are connected, just like that weaving project in the back. So we're going to move into our second question now. Take some time. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. There's a big glare, Gail. Just wave your hand. Yeah.
Hi. So this block was weird for me, and it didn't really, but then it came to the word evil. And I connected with that coming from an evangelical tradition. There was a really strong, in death, there was a really strong separation of those who were saved and those who weren't, and it was all originated in in original sin and evil. And so it really connected, that idea of that separation of those, those that were saved and that had eternal life, and those that weren't.
Okay, so we'll transition to the second question. Try to find the word that speaks to where you are now. You're currently at challenges, concerns, fears, anxieties, hopes around death. So I'd like to ask us to have 3 folks report on the words that they'd like to get comfortable with around death and dying.
I'm Kenneth, and I picked a word that I couldn't find on a block, which is choice. I feel like it's a personal and a cultural imperative to become more comfortable with the ability to choose.
My name is Bart, and my word was acceptance. The thought of death terrifies me, and I know that it's going to happen, and I'd like to be able to accept it when it does.
I'm Linda, and the word I chose was teach. My experiences with death and the aftermaths of that have given me the opportunity to learn and to teach others in processing.
Thanks so much for taking part in this activity, and think about how this might be a tool that you want to take home either for your family's use, your own, or for your congregation. We can talk more about that later if you're interested in it. We're going to take the time to sing the song that encapsulates those questions we've just been asking.
You may guess the song that came to us, but I like to start with a basic two notes. And if some of you want to stay right here, stay here the whole time. And Kathy and I are going to layer in some other layers. If you want to go with us on the layers, feel free, but we'll build it all up, and then we'll let it die down and go back to mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery, mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery, mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where did we come from? Mystery. What are we? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where did we come from? Mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where did we come from? Mystery. What are we? Life is a riddle and a mystery. 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 Life is a riddle
So we have brought death into the room through worship, by telling our own stories, by putting our experiences into context, and by listening deeply to one another. Let's take a moment now to go within with a meditative reading, and then I'll give you about 10 minutes after our meditation to write reflections in your journal about what you've experienced this morning. It could be from the worship, from your stories, from the words on your blocks. So let's take a moment to center ourselves, to breathe deeply, to find the quiet place inside of us with these words from Robert Weston. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here have we come, stardust and starlight, mingling through time and space. Out of the stars have we come up from time. Out of the stars have we come. Time out of time, before time, in the vastness of space, Earth spun to orbit the sun. Earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas. Earth warmed by the sun, lit by sunlight. This is our home. Out of the stars have we come. Mystery hidden in mystery, back through all time. Mystery rising from rocks in the storm and sea. Out of the stars, rising from rocks and the sea. Kindled by sunlight on earth, arose life. Ponder this thing in your heart. Ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shallows came ferns. Out of the sea to the land, up from darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly. Out of the sea trembled life. Ponder this thing in your heart, life up from the sea. Eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love. Life from the sea, warmed by the sun, washed by the rain. Life from within, giving birth, rose to love. This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth. Life upon earth rose to love. This is the marvel of humanity, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart, cry wonder, sing that we live. Because we arose to life, to sing, to touch, to love, death is not too high a price to pay for having lived. Take the time that you need in silence to either write or continue in your meditation.